open diff and locked diff. In this video, I'm going to show you how to lock your diff in two-wheel drive. So this is a diagram that I'm going to use, and the parts that I'm going to use. I've got a DP-DT relay. It's got 8 pins. I bought this on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. And I have 3 wire taps, and I've got 8 connectors, and I've also pre-cut 8 pieces of wire and some heat shrink tubing. Now you can use a relay base like this one and just put your wires in, but that takes up a fair bit of room. It's easier just to use the relay. And this mod, I learned about it on Titan Talk. I'm pointing out the 3 wire taps here. And I'm going to go ahead and strip the ends of the wire. The 1 wire for the 1 wire tap, you only have to strip one end. I'd go ahead and strip both ends of all the other wires. I can't take any credit for this mod. I learned about it on Titan Talk, so I'll put a link down to that thread in the description below. And this diagram is very handy, so if you can look up this diagram on that as well and print it off, it will help you out. So I started off with about 6 inches of wire for each piece. You don't need quite that much. You can trim them to length once you get them in place. And you can also go ahead and add the connectors to the end of each of the 7 wires. I cut 8 wires, but you only need 7 because 1 wire goes on 2 relay positions. And I'm just using spade connectors here to go right on the relay. And in this video I also heat shrink all these spade connectors on, but I found out later that the spade connectors were heat shrinkable. So you can just, if you buy heat shrinkable connectors, just shrink those on. You don't need the heat shrink tubing. So on the relay, the vertical connectors face down. Those are spots 7 and 8, and they're numbered in order from 1 to 8, starting at the top left. And the ones at the top go towards the diff lock control unit, which is located behind the seat of the truck. And you can wire it at that location, but you have to run wires all the way up to your switch, so it's kind of easier just to do it in the kick panel and the right by your left foot when you're driving, and I'll show you that when we get there. So the 1 wire which taps into the ground goes from 4 to 8, so you can put a spade connector on both ends of one of the wires. So the bottom part of the relay, positions 5 and 6, they run towards the firewall to the front of the truck. And we're going to be tapping into a 12 volt switched power source. The yellow and purple wires which run to the diff lock control unit, so the control wires. We're tapping into a black ground wire, and we're also going to tap into a green switch wire, which is going to be the OEM switch. So at the end of this mod, we're going to be able to run our rear e-locker on the Diff in 2-wheel drive, 4 high and 4 low. On the Pro4X, which has the e-locker, you can only use it in 4 low in stock configuration, and it's also speed limited. So in my case, I use my truck for truck pulling, and I do run it in 4 low with the e-locker on, but in some cases I've gone over that speed limit and it has disengaged on me. I'd like to keep it engaged all the time when I'm going down the track. So, and it might also be fun to play around in the snow or the fields in 2-wheel drive with the diff locked. I'll maybe make a video of that later. So here I'm just testing it out to see what it looks like with all the wires attached. This isn't how it's going to be, but we'll show you more what it's going to look like coming up. Here I'm inside the truck. I'm just going to go through what the diff lock normally looks like, or what you normally have to do to put the diff lock on. First you have to switch from 2-wheel drive to 4 high. You can do this while driving slowly or in gear. So we're in park right now. I switched it to 4 high and it is engaged now. Now to go to 4 low, we need to be in neutral and then push in 4 low. You can see 4 low is flashing and it did engage. Sometimes you need to roll forwards or roll backwards to go from 2-wheel drive to 4 high, but it did engage here in park, and you can see in 4 low the traction control is off. And I usually, when I do the diff lock, I do it usually in neutral as well. So diff lock on the Pro4X is down here. I'm going to engage that, and the ABS is off and the diff lock light is on, so we know it's locked up. Sometimes you do have to roll forwards or backwards for the diff lock to lock completely, but it is good to do it while to engage it while you're in neutral here. So I'm not going to drive, I'm just going to leave it in neutral and then go through the reverse procedure. Diff lock off, still in neutral. We're going to go back to 4 high, and then you can drive or whatever in 4 high if you want, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to go back to 2-wheel drive, and it disengaged. Sometimes you do have to roll forwards or backwards to get it to go back into 2-wheel drive. So we'll park and we'll show you again how this works with the bypass mod. To access your wiring, first remove your floor mat from the driver's side, and there's going to be dirt everywhere, so grab your shop vac and get as much dirt cleaned up as you can so it does not get down into the where the wiring is. And then next, take your whatever you call that, threshold panel or kick plate or whatever you want to call it, grab it with 2 hands, pull it up, it just snaps right off, and you can move that aside. And take your vacuum and clean that up as well, so you don't get rocks and sand down in there. Now look up near the front by the dead pedal for 1 grommet, holding the kick plate on. Remove that. You can use a flathead screwdriver. And then right by the door, just pull that out. It just pulls out right from the trim, and remove that piece out of the way. So this is the location of the wiring, and we're going to focus on the black, purple, and yellow wires that pass into the harness that goes to the back of the truck. And you can identify them because they're also up here. You can use them up here as well, but for where we're going to place our relay, we're going to use them down here. And you're also going to look for this thicker, darker blue wire, which is 12 volts. So that you have to pull that one to the front a little bit. The other 3 were already at the front. And we're going to look back here for the diff lock switch wire, which is a dark green. In the Titan Talk write-up, it is pointed out as that this wire here that I'm touching, but that wasn't the case in my truck. I'll go into that later. You might want to cut back the electrical tape on your wiring harness a bit so you have more length for your wires. And before we cut any wires, we're going to remove the negative terminal from our battery just to be safe. So take a 10mm and take that off. So I've cut the yellow wire here, and I'm going to put bullet connectors on it to run it to my relay. And I'm using bullet connectors as suggested in the write-up so that I can switch it back to stock if I want. So I'm putting opposite male and female on the yellow wire, and I'm going to run the rear of the truck side to relay position 1, and I'm going to run the front side to relay position 5. So in this shot here, the top one goes to the front of the truck, which is matches to terminal 5. The bottom one goes to the rear of the truck, which matches to terminal 1. So now we're going to go to our purple wire and cut that and strip both sides. I'm going to put opposite bullet terminals on that as well. And I'm also going to switch them so that you cannot accidentally attach the purple wire to the yellow wire. So get your bullet connectors on your purple wires. The top purple wire is going to go to terminal 6. The bottom purple wire is going to go to relay terminal 2. This is where I'm going to put my relay. I've made a little nest in here with some weather stripping. So the weather stripping had an adhesive side. I took 4 pieces and stuck it in there, and this is what I used. And the relay fits perfectly in that little spot. And it's also nice and snug. It's not going to bounce around, it's not going to come loose. So I chose to face it out so I can attach my wires. Next, I'm going to hook up the bullet connectors that go from the relay to the purple and yellow wires. Now it's time to add the wire taps. We need one wire tap going to the black ground wire, and that is a solid wire from 4 to 8 and tap to the black ground. And we're going to add one wire tap to the blue power wire, and that's going to go to terminal 3 for our power supply. These wire taps are a bit tricky in this tight area. I did order some wire taps that might work a little bit better, but I didn't get them in time for shooting this video. These ones did work, but they're a little tricky to get the piece pushed in to tap the wires. They will work, but take your time and be patient, and go back and double check as well. In this shot here, I am putting a bullet connector on the wire that goes to terminal 2, and that connects to the purple wire, which runs to the back of the truck. There. let's bring this one over here. Here's another shot of the diagram I'm using. I found the diagram to be a lot easier to use than the pictures. And this is basically what it looks like all hooked up. And you can tie this up however you want. So everything's connected up now. I have ran into a bit of trouble here, and one of my issues is that these wire taps weren't actually tapping into the wire. So this is where your multimeter will come in handy. So with the key on, this one here, which is tapped into the blue wire, should have 14 volts on it. That's terminal 3, so you can test it up at the relay. And my other issue is I'm not getting signal from the diff lock switch, which I've got this one here, which is terminal 7 on the relay. Going by the write-up on Titan Talk, there was one solid green wire. It looks like I've actually got 2 solid green wires. So I'm gonna try that. So up here, these ones both have stripes on them. But I'm gonna look for, actually, I also pulled the faceplate for the radio off where the diff lock switch is, and I looked there, and there isn't a solid green wire coming from the diff lock switch, but it's a bit thinner than the one that I was trying down here. So I'm going to look for that thinner blue wire down here, and I'm going to try that to see if I can get some 14 volt readings on that when it's switched on. Okay, so now I'm testing the thin green wire, and I have the diff lock switch on. So I'm going to put my black wire on the ground, which is on terminal 8. I know that's the ground, and I know that's working. And I'm going to touch it to this one, which is tapped into the thin green wire, and we got 11 volts there. So there's power there. Let's turn the diff lock switch off, and we'll go on the ground again and touch this wire again. 0 volts. So that's the diff lock power switch. Let's have a look at that. That's not the one we originally thought it was. See anything at all back there? So this is the one I originally thought it was. This thicker green wire towards the outside right, and it's not the right one. It's actually this one here, the thinner green one, which was farther in. So before you hook it all up, do some testing with your multimeter and get it figured out. I am going to take this one off, and we'll test out our diff lock. Now's the time to test it out. So I think I've got everything hooked up correctly now. Truck is on, we're in park. Let's hit the switch and see what happens. Awesome. It locked up. That's so cool. That is cool. Okay, we're in 2-wheel drive right now. Let's try, see what happens at 4 high. Okay, we're in 4 high. And let's do diff lock switch. Diff lock on. Okay, let's try 4 low. So I'm in neutral, for low, felt it engage, diff lock on, and diff lock is on, diff lock off, for high, two-wheel drive. Okay, now we gotta try it out and see what it looks like on the grass. Now to put this back together, this basically just pushes in on the side and push your push pin back in right up here in the corner, and then your trim piece, there's a little tag there that goes in there. It's easier if you just kind of push it in and up, and then push down, snap everything in place. Put your mat back in, and we're back to you. That was unlocked. Now let's see two-wheel drive locked. So it worked. I just did a burn it on the grass two-wheel drive, and you could definitely tell the diff was locked. This skid on my right here is with it locked, and the tire tracks are exactly the same length. And then on the other one, without it locked, the driver's side was a lot shorter. You can see here, that's the end of the left wheel. And the end of the right wheel is up here. The start of the driver's side wheel skid mark is here, and the start passenger side wheel is here. So there's a difference there. So I started the truck at the same distance, and you can see the far two skid marks are even, and the close skid marks are not. So turning the truck on and then off again didn't clear the diff lock light, but backing up a little bit and then going forward again did. So you might have to drive a little bit before it unlocks. Just keep that in mind. You don't want it to drive it back onto the road when it is locked, or you will destroy your diff, or worse, you could get in an accident. So please use this mod with caution, and basically you're taking matters into